Hello and welcome to this new pronunciation class. I'm very excited to actually be sharing this with you. This is a video format I have never tried before, so please bear with me and hopefully give me feedback, please, in the comments on how this goes. This is a pronunciation masterclass where we're going to go through a text together, a little paragraph that you can see on the screen, and we're going to talk about tricky words in this paragraph, stress, word stress, sentence stress, connected speech, and finally intonation, and we're going to bring it all together and practice this text all together. You can use it to shadow read with me and improve your pronunciation. Let's go. Right, so let's talk a little bit about tricky words in this text. So, the first word that we're going to do is the word literary. Literary is a difficult word because students often have a problem pronouncing the double R sound inside. So, literary. Literary. It's a particular challenge for those of you who don't have the soft R sound in your phonetic alphabet. The English R sound is made without your tongue touching the roof of your mouth. This is really important. So R, literary, literary. And then our next word is religious, and it's traditional for us here to look at those endings of adjectives where OUS is there. So in all of those adjectives where we have OUS, we need to remember that this ending is pronounced simply as S. Religious. Religious. Very, very short S. Then our next word is cultural. And in here we've got two U's inside this word. The first one is pronounced as the short A sound, as in hut or but, so kal. And then the other one is pronounced as the schwa sound, the very, very short sound, cultural. 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 In fact, when you listen to this word, that U, that second U, is going to be pronounced identically to that A at the end of the word. So, cultural. Cultural. Two schwas inside that word. Then we've got the word poetry, and this is a difficult word to pronounce correctly. First of all, because that O here is pronounced as, well, the O, okay, so po, and then it's immediately followed by the schwa, poa, poetry. Poetry. It's quite difficult to understand native English speakers when they say poetry. So quite an important word to study. Another word that we're going to study today is undeniably, a very advanced adverb. Okay, undeniably. It's important to remember that this adverb comes from the verb deny, and deny finishes with that nice I sound so characteristic of the English language. So deny, deniable would be the adjective, undeniable would be the negative form of that adjective, and then if we add ly, we're going to say undeniably. Undeniably difficult. And then we've got a favorite of mine, which is literature. Literature is a word which is very hard to pronounce for a lot of learners of English. First of all, because of the ending, T-U-R-E, but as you know from our previous videos, T-U-R-E is pronounced as chair in a very, very similar way to the word chair, the actual sitting place. Okay, so in here, chair at the end, that A just in front of T-U-R-E is pronounced as I, a short I. If you listen to me saying the word, you will be able to notice it. Literature, 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 literature. And one final obstacle, one final difficulty about this word is the pronunciation of the letter T in that first syllable, because T in literature converts into ch. So we say lich, lich, literature, literature. Very, very difficult. Then we're going to have a look at the verb continues. This may be a surprise to many of you why this word is here, but this word is here basically because a lot of students, especially lower level students, have a problem pronouncing its ending. So in here we need to remember that it's continues. Continues. That ending there sounds exactly like the word news in English. So news continues. Then we've got the word faiths, and faith is here because it's very, very hard for a lot of learners of English to say th and then follow it with s at the end of the word. It's a very rare ending in general, but it's definitely worth practicing it because it's very, very hard. So faiths, faiths. Then we've got three more words that are difficult in this text. We've got the first one is thought, pronounced with the nice long O. We need to remember that the O-U-G-H-T is pronounced as just two sounds in English. Ought, long O and T. So thought. Then we've got the word society. Society. That first syllable is super short, and we put the stress in this word on psi, on the second syllable. Society. 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 And finally, we finish this text with an advanced adjective that's created by adding an ed to it. So it's a difficult one to pronounce correctly. Listen and repeat. Unmatched. Unmatched. No extra syllables here with the ed ending. That's very important to remember, and that's how we should pronounce it. Unmatched. Unmatched. Then, moving on to stress and words that present a challenge in terms of stress in this text, we're going to look at three of them. The first one for us is the word significance. Significance. And in here, the stress is on the second syllable. It's a very strong stress, and it's a long word, so it's a little bit difficult to pronounce it correctly in terms of stress for some students. So again, significance. Significance. Then we've got one of the most mispronounced words in terms of stress in English by learners of English, which is impact. And this word is a homograph, which basically means that it has two pronunciations, and depending on which part of speech we use, we want to communicate, this word, the pronunciation of this word, changes. So impact as a noun is stressed on the first syllable, but if you use it as a verb, and you wanted to say, for example, that the Bible has impacted a lot of people, then it would be stressed on the second syllable as impact. So in here, remember, it's a noun, so it's impact, stress on the first syllable. And our last word in terms of challenging stress in this text is the word backgrounds. And backgrounds is stressed on the first syllable. Lots of learners forget about it, so just remember background, first syllable. Background. Now, in terms of connected speech in this text, we're going to focus on binomials. These are combinations of words that are joined by and in these cases, we pronounce and in the very, very short way, and usually without that d at the end. Just as in the phrase rock and roll. Yeah, rock and roll. Can you hear how that end is pronounced there? Exactly. It's very, very short and you can't hear the d sound. So let's have a look at the text, at the examples of and used in these combinations inside this text. We actually have three of them. So let's listen and repeat. Cultural and historical. Cultural and historical. Faiths and backgrounds. Faiths and backgrounds. It's a difficult one, right? And then thought and society. Thought and society. Very well done. Another thing in terms of connected speech we're focusing on here is the pronunciation of a couple of ed endings here in this text that are particularly difficult to pronounce. And they're so difficult to pronounce because the ed ending is not an extra syllable, and it's immediately followed by another consonant, and that consonant is made in a different place than the t or d that we pronounce the ed ending as. So let's have a look at the first one, and it's shaped languages. Shaped languages. So we go from pt to l very, very smoothly. It's very hard to do that. Shaped languages. And then immediately after that phrase, we've got another one, which is inspired countless. Inspired countless. In both of these situations, these ed endings are particularly difficult for learners of English to pronounce because it's hard to pronounce these consonant clusters with the d or with the t. And because of that, many students often don't pronounce the t or d, and it sounds like bad English. Okay, so let's have a look at this sentence and let's repeat it with both of these phrases. So, this literary work has shaped languages, inspired countless works of art, and has had an undeniably huge impact on music, literature, and art around the world. It's a pretty long sentence. I hope I gave you enough time there to repeat it. And it actually contains one of the other things that we're going to be looking at today in terms of connected speech, and that's when words are connected with just one sound, when one word finishes with a similar sound to what follows the ending. So, for example, in here we've got around the world, so d and the voiced the is pronounced, they're both pronounced in a similar place inside your mouth, so you basically connect them into one sound. Around the, art around the world, art around the world. And it will also happen with the s sound in that second line. So we've got religious, that ends in s, and we've got significance, that starts with s. And we connect both of these with just one s, a slightly stronger s, you could argue. So we'll say religious significance. Religious significance. Very well done. And finally, we're going to have a look at intonation in this text. And in this text, we're actually going to practice pauses, because pauses form an incredibly important part of connected speech, of the English pronunciation. They're very, very important. So one rule in general is that we pause when there's a comma, and of course at the end of a sentence. So we're going to go through this whole text, sentence by sentence, and we're going to practice pausing. So let's have a look. The first sentence, okay? We've got 3 places here where we need to pause. Okay, the first one is after a comma. The second one is just in front of but also, and then of course we pause at the end of the sentence. So everything here sounds like this. The Bible is probably the most important literary work of all time, not only because of its religious significance, but also when it comes to its cultural and historical influence. Try it. Okay, and let's keep going now. Let's have a look at the second sentence. This one is literally riddled with pauses, and it's really, really important to pause here, because if you don't, it sounds really, really messy. Okay, so let's have a look first at the arrows. Okay, now listen to how I read it, and then try to replicate me as closely as you can. Let's go. Written over many centuries by different authors, the Bible includes a wide range of literary styles such as poetry, law, history, proverbs, parables, and prophecy. Well done, and let's keep going. Let's have a look at the third sentence now and all those arrows pointing out pauses to us. And let's listen and try to repeat. This literary work has shaped languages, inspired countless works of art, and has had an undeniably huge impact on music, literature, and art around the world. And now it's time for the penultimate sentence in this text and our last sentence in which we're going to be paying attention to pauses. So again, have a look at where those arrows fall and listen and try to replicate me as closely as you can. Have a look first. Translated into more languages than any other book, the Bible continues to be read, studied, and debated by people of many faiths and backgrounds. Very well done. And now it's time to read this paragraph together. Let's pay very close attention to all these things that we have discussed here today, and let's try to keep the rhythm of reading this text exactly the way I read it. You can even time yourself if you want. This is called shadow reading, and it's a great, great exercise to practice your pronunciation. So, 3, 2, 1. The Bible is probably the most important literary work of all time, not only because of its religious significance, but also when it comes to its cultural and historical influence. Written over many centuries by different authors, the Bible includes a wide range of literary styles such as poetry, law, history, proverbs, parables, and prophecy. This literary work has shaped languages, inspired countless works of art, and has had an undeniably huge impact on music, literature, and art around the world. Translated into more languages than any other book, the Bible continues to be read, studied, and debated by people of many faiths and backgrounds. Its impact on human thought and society is truly unmatched. Well done! How was it? How did it feel? I hope you had fun practicing this with me. And by the way, remember that you can record yourself reading this paragraph and send your audio to me on my learning platform, Your English Upgrade, and I'll give you my feedback on your pronunciation. I'll listen to how you read it, I'll write down your errors, and I'll tell you exactly what you need to improve. So consider joining Your English Upgrade today, and until the next time, take care and enjoy the learning process.